Would please rise for the pledge and the invocation. Please bow your heads. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings of life. We thank you for this wonderful community that we live in. We ask that you lead us, guide us, and direct us in your ways. We ask that the decisions made here with the commissioners tonight will be in your best judgment, and with your will, we'll be able to do that. We ask now that you continue to bless this community with all the blessings that you have bestowed on it. We ask these things in Christ's holy and precious name. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. I noticed we've got one young man here with us. It's Boy Scouts. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. Appreciate your attendance. Hopefully you'll be able to get a little civic lesson tonight as we move through the meeting. Glad to have you with us. Is there anyone else here? Some youth leadership back there? Again, thank you very much for attending, and we appreciate you being here tonight. We'll get to you. All righty. The first thing that we do have tonight is that we have a special presentation we'd like to make to the Teen Explosion Youth Group. We have some of them here with us tonight. Commissioners, if you would come down front with me, then I'd like to present this proclamation we have for them. Reads as the following. It says, whereas alcohol is the most commonly used addictive substance in the United States, and whereas alcoholism is the third leading lifestyle-related cause of death in the nation, and whereas more than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism, and whereas more than 7 million children live in a household where at least one parent is dependent on or has abused alcohol, and whereas alcohol consumption can damage the brain and other body organs such as the heart and liver, and whereas alcohol consumption has caused many fatal vehicle accidents, and whereas alcohol abuse can affect all aspects of a person's life, and whereas Lowndes County thanks the Teen Explosion Youth Action Group for their outstanding community service and dedication to bringing alcohol awareness to Lowndes County and surrounding areas and helping our youth live alcohol and drug-free lives. Now, therefore, our chairman, Bill Slaughter, on behalf of the Lowndes County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 2018 as Alcohol Awareness Month in Lowndes County and call this observance to the attention of our citizens. So proclaim this 10th day of April 2018. Thank you all very much for all your great work that you're doing in the community.
Mr. Chairman, I think you've had some attendees just come in. If you would like to bring them up.
Absolutely. With the Teen Explosion, please come forward. Again, thank y'all very much for all your hard work in this community, working on this societal issue that we have with alcohol and drug abuse. So very proud of y'all. We'll step right on down this way, please. Come right on down this way. You're a big old boy. You might have to be in behind me. All right, this next proclamation is a recognition. It's in there somewhere, we just gotta find it. Yeah, a National Telecommunications Week. Danny, if you and your staff could come, please come forward. We have one of the most, I'm going to say probably one of the most underappreciated agencies that we actually have is our group that works 911. We like to include 911 as our first responders because there's no doubt about it, the traditional first responders aren't going to get there without you getting them there. So Danny, we certainly will appreciate you, your staff, and your efforts to make our 911 center as one of the best in the state. But we certainly appreciate your efforts. So we have a proclamation recognizing this. It says, whereas the Lowndes County 911 Center was established in 1993, consolidating all 911 call taking and dispatching activities for public safety agencies. And whereas the 911 Center is a dynamic, progressive, and caring organization with a highly professional staff that provides multi-jurisdictional emergency call taking and dispatching for all local law enforcement, fire, and ambulance services in Lowndes County and Eccles County. And whereas the center averages 200,000 calls for service a year, and whereas the Lowndes County 911 Center achieved accreditation from the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, known as CALEA, in July of 2003 for Public Safety Communications Center. It was the second 911 center in Georgia to receive such recognition. And whereas the 911 Center's mission is to provide the citizens of our community with timely and accurate communications linked to emergency response services, law enforcement, fire, and ambulance, and when appropriate, assist with resolutions of the citizen's emergency. And whereas throughout the week of April the 9th through April the 13th, the Lowndes County 911 Center will be recognizing dispatchers for National Telecommunications Week. And whereas 2018 marks the Lowndes County 911 Center's 25th year of operation, and whereas Lowndes County is extremely proud of the Lowndes County 911 Center for their outstanding work and unwavering dedication, now therefore I, Chairman Bill Slaughter, on behalf of the Lowndes County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 9th through the 13th of 2018 as Telecommunications Week in Lowndes County and call this observance to the attention of our citizens. So proclaim this 10th day of April 2018. And again, thank you very much. Okay, we'll get right on down to our first agenda items, and this is the minutes for approval. Commissioners, in your package, you'll find your minutes from the work session of March the 26th and the regular session minutes of March the 27th. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Our first public hearing item is agenda item 8A, and this is case number REZ 2018-08. It's the Hughes property. It's located at 4968 Lakeland Highway. The request is EA to R1. It has well and septic, and it involves 2.81 acres. Mr. Davenport.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ultimately, this is a request to change the acreage on Lakeland Highway from EA to R1. No updates since yesterday's work session, and we do believe it's ready for your consideration tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Davenport? Okay, we'll move into the public participation portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Marcus Hughes. I live at 4968 Lakeland Highway, Naylor, Georgia, which is this property. Going over this, we had a discussion at the planning meeting, and there was a talk of denial. The reason why they were saying is for variance would cover this. The only reason that we tried to do that in the beginning, and then we got deferred to this, and now we're at this point, and this is this EA zoning was done something 25, 30 years ago for on the property, and we're just trying to get it to R1 so I can acquire a piece of land that abuts the property, and maybe in the future have some building permits to add on to the property as well.
Any questions for Mr. Hughes? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public participation portion of the meeting, and I'll turn it back over to the commissioners for your consideration.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the request. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Our next case, agenda item 8B, case number REZ 2018-09. It's Camp Rock. It's a PDR to a PDR amendment to that PDR. 4391 Rocky Ford Road. It has well and septic and involves 59 acres. Mr. Davenport.
Yes, sir, thank you. Ultimately, what this case is an update of the Camp Rock site plans that were recently approved to allow for mobile food and commissary or base of operations to be allowed on the subject property. No updates since the work session. Recommendations of approval both from staff and Planning Commission tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Davenport? Okay, hearing none, we'll turn it back over to the public participation portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Jack Langdale, 701 North Patterson, here on behalf of Jay Watkins and Camp Rock. Everything that we presented last time is still the plan. This is just a way that we might be able to serve more people faster before we have the full budget for the commercial kitchen. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Langdale?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Langdale. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public participation portion of the meeting and turn it over to the commissioners for your consideration.
Motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 8C, case number REZ 2018-10. This is Grace Lake, Enoch Lake Road, and Enoch Lake Circle. It involves 20 acres and one lot in a PD. The request is to go to R10. Mr. Davenport.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Ultimately, this request has been updated since the work session yesterday. Had conversations with staff and county commissioner, and ultimately, after touching base with the applicant's agent who is here tonight, to try to get their plans aligned with our regulations and some concerns about R10 zoning, then we'd like to recommend that instead of R10 zoning, that we go for R1 zoning. R1 zoning is consistent with what's across the street at Enoch Lake. That's what those lots have. The main thrust in the change was to not allow for the duplexes, which are allowed in R10 or R21, but to allow the residents to construct their house, which is allowed, but also a guest house. A guest house wouldn't have been allowed in R10 zoning. So we're trying to make all those things to come together, and I'm glad we had this conversation before the commission had their consideration. But ultimately, what we're asking for is approval with one condition, and that condition on the screen is stating that it will go to R1 zoning, not R10.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Davenport? Any clarification needed? Okay. We'll now move back to the public participation portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Kaylin Tucker, 4961 Princess Drive, Lake Park, Georgia. I think he covered everything, but we are just requesting the 20 acres for R1 zoning to build our home. Just wanted to make sure there weren't any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public participation portion of the meeting and turn it back over to the commissioner for your consideration.
I move that we rezone the property as R1.
Do we have a motion to rezone the property as R1? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a couple of seconds. Okay, we'll all call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, agenda item 9A is the memorandum of agreement for right-of-way of the Old Quitman Road Bridge Replacement Project. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir. What you have before you here is a agreement between Lowndes County and the Georgia Department of Transportation, whereas Lowndes County will be responsible for 50% of the cost to acquire the right-of-way. The GDOT has completed the preliminary plans and are estimating that the cost will be $140,000, which will be $70,000 to Lowndes County for our portion.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Fletcher? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize you to sign the agreement.
We have a motion to authorize the chairman to sign the agreement. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 9B is the update to the Lowndes County Thoroughfare Plan. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir. The Lowndes County Thoroughfare Plan was first adopted in 1983. Since that time, we've had numerous updates. The last update we had was in 2009. This new update has added new roads that has been paved, updated road status. The biggest change to this is we have added the ability for subdivisions to have speed humps, or speed tables inside of platted subdivisions, as well as all new subdivisions have to buy their signs from our sign shop at Public Works, as well as the paint markings, I'm sorry. The paint markings all now have to be either thermoplastic or high build paint, no more just regular traffic paint.
Any questions for Mr. Fletcher?
I have one, Mike. I noticed when it speaks of local truck routes, is there a difference between lumber or the Puckwood trucks, or what do we mean by local truck route?
If the load begins or ends on a county road, it can use the county road for that as long as it meets the bridge requirements. It has to cross the bridge. Say, for instance, someone was cutting timber on Rocky Ford Road. Rocky Ford Road is not on the approved truck route list, but they can get from Rocky Ford to the nearest truck route and then go from there to the nearest place where they're going to be unloading timber.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Fletcher? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt the updated Lowndes County Thoroughfare Plan.
We have a motion to adopt the updated Lowndes County Thoroughfare Plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 9C is the FY 2019 Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant Program and the request for proposals. I'll get it right in a minute. Mr. Ty.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
As we discussed yesterday, this is the same request we brought before you in years past, requesting authorization for the chairman to sign the documents and for staff to submit the prepared proposal for the FY 2019 Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant. Also, as we discussed yesterday, the documentation would include the additional letter of commitment for the CJCC grant that they're applying for on a state level. So other than that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have about the grant.
Any questions for Mr. Ty? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ty. All right, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to authorize the chairman to sign the required documentation. For
Does that
staff-
also include the additional letter?
Staff to submit the proposal to CJCC and additional letter.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 9D is the update on the Solicitor General's Violence Against Women's Act, the award. Solicitor Cabral.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I gave a brief presentation and update yesterday on our office's application and subsequent award of the VAWA grant. I'm asking the board's approval to accept the awards plus the necessary cash grant, and I'll be glad to entertain any questions that may have arisen since the work session.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Cabral? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the Solicitor General's VAWA grant award.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the Solicitor General's VAWA grant award. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item 9E is the declaration of surplus items and the authorization for disposal. Ms. Black?
Yes, sir. You have a list of items that are no longer in use, and we're just requesting that those be declared surplus so that we can dispose of them. The majority will go on govdeals.com.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Black?
Stephanie, just a quick question. Employees are allowed to bid on these as well?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve and declare the items as surplus and authorize for their disposal.
Could we have a motion to approve the request of declaring the items as surplus and to authorize their disposal? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 10A is the bid for the firefighter turnout gear. Ms. Black?
Yes, sir. We solicited bids for the purchase of full sets of firefighter turnout gear. There are some sets that need to be replaced that are at the end of useful life, as well as new personnel who need gear. The initial purchase will be for 12 full sets. The responsive bidders were asked to provide pricing on the coats and pants that would be valid for 1 year, and any additional purchases will come before the board. We received the following bids: Thermo Fisher Scientific, $24,444.36. Municipal Emergency Services, $26,076. Bennett Fire Products, $27,552. NAFCO, $27,576. Municipal Equipment Company, $28,029.60, and 10-8 Fire Equipment, $31,191.24.
Thank you, Ms. Black. Any questions for Ms. Black? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we award the bid to Thermo Fisher for $24,444.36.
Do we have a motion to award the bid to Thermo Fisher Scientific for the total of $24,444.36?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 10B is the resurfacing of 4 county roads. Mr. Fletcher.
Yes, sir. The county has received a grant for $1,128,703.70 for resurfacing. The county solicited bids, and we opened bids on 4 county roads, for a portion of 4 county roads, a portion of Howell Road, Knights Academy Road, Rocky Ford Road, and Shiloh Road. You have the bids in front of you. If the county so chooses to take the low bid, the county will be responsible for $454,216.05.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Any questions for Mr. Fletcher? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we award the bid to the Scruggs Company.
Do we have a motion to award the bid to the Scruggs Company? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 11, County Manager's Report. Mr. Pritchard.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Dukes, do we have any citizens wishing to be heard? Thank you. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Yeah.